Before I get into this question, my only request to you will be, don't understand this oneness just as a concept. I meet so many people, they have read all sorts of fancy concepts. Brahman, Par-Brahman, Atma, Jivatma, Paramatma, Samadhi, types of Samadhis. Similarly, this oneness, cosmic union, divine union, Param Shiva state. I don't want to add just another belief or a concept in these already definitions. Because Maharishi Raman, I will not call him Maharishi Raman, I'll call him Bhagwan, because that's what his devotees used to call him. But Bhagwan's way of approaching this oneness was beyond any of these fancy concepts. And that's what he will tell his devotees to do. To drop all these abstract fancy words, fancy concepts. He will make this process very simple. But if you are serious about this process, and if you are serious about knowing what oneness is, each cell of your body should be burning with this question, and it should be devoted to know what oneness is. It will be then, this oneness will not just be a mere concept. It will be then you will be able to know, realize and be this oneness. It will be then you will be able to taste this cosmic union. Why did Ramana Maharshi say there are no others? Well, to understand this, why he used to speak such sentences which will just confuse all the devotees, we have to understand a little bit of incidents from his past. He was born in a Tamil Nadu village called as Tiruchuli. This boy was hardly 12-13 years old. His father passed away. His brother with his mother moved to a place in Madurai with his uncle. This boy was not interested in any studies, academics, but he was a little bit interested in sport activities. And his uncle and his mother were surprised that this boy has a terrific level of concentration and a very excellent memory. But this boy doesn't want to study. Suddenly this boy who doesn't want to study anything got interested in a book called as Periyapuranam. This book talks about 63 sages. There was a temple nearby called as Meenakshi temple, and it had a room with statues of all these 63 sages. He will just sit inside the room doing nothing. Just sit, completely engrossed in his deep state of concentrations. This young boy was hardly 16 years old, I think it was 1896. He had an experience which the people around him termed as near-death experience. Death intrigued him. He saw various deaths around him, and it just made him more and more curious that yesterday this person was with me or walking beside me in this village, and today he is just not there. He's not able to get up. Today he is here, tomorrow he is gone. What is this which is coming and going? This was the innocence of this child. And I'm pretty sure if he would have been a little older, he wouldn't be able to inquire these questions. Because this level of observation can only be in a child. And it can only be his innocence which can go in the depths of the observation of death. He was so innocent, he started imitating dead bodies. He will just sit inside his room, lie down, act like a corpse, will not move his body and his mind at all. He will first completely still his body and then completely still his mind. One day he was doing a homework. He passed through a very shocking experience. He reached a place within himself where his body and mind were completely dead. But he was alive. He was aware. He got a seat where he was just sitting without a single movement. This seat, he called it heart. Not this body heart or the romantic heart which the songs and these movies talk about. A heart where he is completely sitting in pure awareness. And this state, he called it the real self or the real I. Why real self? Because earlier what he was thinking he is, about his body, about his ideas, about his own opinions, he was none of this. This real self was completely separated from this body, this mind and all of these constructs. He got completely disinterested in all his academics, in sports activities, in his own life. He got completely disinterested towards his own body, completely oblivious to his own body. He started traveling. He traveled to different caves, temples in Tiruvannamali. There he will just go and sit for hours, completely engrossed in his meditation. Insects, worms, leeches will pierce his flesh, eat his flesh, but he will just complete sitting, doing absolutely nothing. Children will outside play and throw stones at him, but this boy will not move even by a millimeter. Various scholars visited him, but he was not a proponent of any philosophy or a school of thought. He was just a proponent of silence. He repeatedly told his devotees that there is only one way you can reach this cosmic union, this divine union, and that is through silence. There will be times when his halls were full of hundreds of devotees, and he will just gaze at them, each one of them one by one. These devotees will just completely go in their own samadhis, just with a gaze. That was the depth of his gaze. Some devotees who were not able to experience this asked him questions, and he answered each one of them. He will just speak hardly 2 to 3 sentences, and that's it. That was enough for a devotee to ponder upon. And it was in one of these discussions, a devotee asked him, "How should I treat others?" Bhagwan said, "There are no others." He was addressing one of his disciples. He said this, that there are more than 60 billion creatures on this planet. Not just humans, plants, animals. Each of these creatures address themselves as I. Is this I different in all these different creatures? Or is this I same, which each of these creatures are referring to? Is this I just one I? Just one I. But that I has localized itself into different bodies. Just find this out. And that itself is your meditation, your practice. No ashram, no discipline or books or any of these things are needed. Just inquire one small thing. Who is this I, or who am I? Coming back to oneness, what does oneness means? Oneness. One means just one. Not 2 or 3 or multiple, just one. A union of a highest order, just one. Ness means the quality of being one, the quality of this union. What do we understand by this? To understand this oneness, We will approach it mathematically, because this is the math of yoga to know this oneness. One will be having two fundamental qualities. First, it has to be infinite, and second, it has to be indivisible. If one is finite, that means there will be something which will be existing other than this finite. Then it will not be one, it will be more than one. One has to incorporate everything. Then it will be just one. So it has to be infinite. And since it is infinite, it cannot have a shape, a form, or a structure, or a construct. No. If it is infinite, it has to be completely shapeless and formless. Second thing is, if it is one, it has to be indivisible. By indivisible means it cannot be divided further. Because if it could be divided further, that means it will be split into two. Now it is not one, it is two, or maybe then more. So it has to be indivisible. Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 3, subchapter 14, shlok 3 says this, that myself within my heart is smaller than a grain of rice, smaller than a grain of barley, smaller than a mustard seed, smaller than a grain of millet, smaller than the kernel of a grain of millet. The self in my heart is larger than the earth, larger than the heaven, and larger than all of the worlds. How can something be smaller than the grain of rice and larger than earth, both at the same time? This is the nature of Brahman, and this is the nature of oneness. The oneness within you is smaller than the grain of rice, smaller than an atom, but the same oneness in this existence is larger than heavens. And what is separating your oneness or your real self from the cosmic self is all the constructs you have created from your mind and your body. Look at it like this. Take this also as a practice of your meditations. Take an example of this white screen, and I divide these white screen into 16 parts. Why are you able to see the 16 sections? Because you are able to see black lines. Now just focus upon the white. Keep focusing upon the white. Concentrate your entire attention towards just this white. The lines will disappear. All you will be able to see is the white screen. This is the first method. Second method is, consider the same screen divided into 16 sections. Let's remove these lines one by one. What are we left with? Just a white screen. So simply just sit in your position, close your eyes, and whatever idea your mind constructs about itself, just remove it. Just ask yourself, who am I? I am a man, a woman, a transgender? No, remove it. That is just in this body. I'm an engineer, a doctor, poor, rich. No, these are just economic and employment identities. Remove it. Remove everything, every idea which your mind thinks it is. I am somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's friend. I am angry, I am happy, I am sad. Any form of attachment which the mind has built, just remove it. What you will be left is the real self. You will be meeting various pundits and gurus. They have memorized the entire Veda, the Gita, Upanishads, thousands and thousands of Sanskrit verses. Memorize them to their hearts. But what is the point, I ask, if they have not touched or moved or tasted this nectar of the real self, the bliss of this real self? All I ask you to do is this. You don't need to memorize any of these books, any of these scriptures. Just do any of these two practices. Because these two practices were some things which Bhagwan taught them vigorously. Vigorously. First, to focus and concentrate on the real self. And second, to reject every idea and every construct which your mind is making. You will reach where the oneness is. Namaskaram.